Hey guys, welcome back to the Advanced Motion Graphics course. My name is Vincent Nguyen, and today in this lesson we're going to be taking a look at how to create this really interesting glass animation. It's really interesting for a title animation, maybe for a sci-fi, and it's kind of inspired by the TV series Fringe. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we're going to be creating in this particular lesson. So I think overall the main focus in this lesson is going to be how to shatter this thing up. We are going to be using Cinema 4D in a third-party plugin, but there will be a free alternative on how to do this, and of course you can do it manually as well. But essentially, when we taking a look at how to create this animation here, this kind of text, and it kind of breaks up and transforms into this new text here, with the nice glass material and the kind of lens flare and all the other elements within the animation. So let's go ahead and get started. So like I said before, we are going to be starting in Cinema 4D, where we're going to construct the text and as well as pre-fracture them for Element 3D. So let's go ahead and hop into Cinema 4D here. So here we are in Cinema 4D. I'm going to go ahead and set up my project settings, even though this may not be completely necessary. I like to start with a 720p composition, and we'll close that. And essentially we're going to make two files, one for each text. So in this case I'm going to use the MoGraph MoText to create our text. I'm going to go into the panel here. I'm going to set the align from left to middle. I'm also going to change the text to, let's see here, we'll call this one the movie. We will just adjust our camera. I'm going to select a more efficient font. Now for a nice result, I would recommend choosing a thicker, bolder font so that we can get that nice massive depth feel. So I'm going to select maybe this font here. So we have the movie text, and then I'm going to go and extrude it. I'm going to increase the depth to maybe around 90 or so we have a pretty thick text. We'll go into the cap settings. We'll change the start and end caps to a fillet cap, and we'll change the radius from 5 to 4, so we have this nice large bevel. And I think that will look very, very nice in the end result here. So this is our first text. I'm going to apply a material to it just so we have a material on it, and we'll just name the material text 01. Hit OK. Now before you save this file, if you're using Cinema 4D, I would suggest going to the edit here and go to preferences. We'll hop into the files section and make sure that you have the save polygons for melange checked, and that will ensure that Cinema 4D will export properly for Element 3D. So make sure that that's checked. Now of course you can create your text in 3ds Max or in Maya or Blender, even whatever 3D application you're most comfortable with here. You're just going to need to save it as an OBJ file. So now that we have our text created, let's go ahead and take a look at how to break this up. Now there are millions of ways to shatter up and fracture text. One way is to actually manually do it. So if you don't have any tools or any plugins and you want to do it the manual way, you can easily convert it to polygons, slice up the polygons, and then you have a whole bunch of fractured, broken up text. So essentially what you want to do is you want to cut up the text, cut up the polygons so that you have multiple polygons here. So right now we just kind of have like one solid text here. Now I have a plugin that I use called Explode, but there's a free alternative which is very, very equivalent to this paid plugin called Throsy. It's free to download, and I will link to it in the lesson notes down below. But again, you can use Explode, you can use Throsy, which is a free alternative, or you can do it manually. And again, this can be done in pretty much any 3D application. You just gotta slice it up. So if you're pretty proficient, you can kind of do it manually if that's what you want. So I'm gonna use Explode because I have it. I'm gonna set the number of parts to roughly 175. I'm gonna make sure that the fracture object is checked here, and I'm gonna hit add. And it's gonna add the points in here. And then I'm going to hit scatter, and that's going to scatter up all my pieces here. As you see, it's all nicely chopped up. I'm going to delete the explode trash, and I'm going to hit clear. So it's going to clear those little points. And now what we have now is our text all shattered up and sliced up here, as you can see. So now that we have that set up, let's go ahead and save our text file here. So I'm going to go to File, I'm going to go to Save As, and then I'm going to call this file text 01, and then hit save. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to hit undo, Control Command Z, to undo all the slicing that we did so that we have our mode text again. And then we're going to start over for the second text. So I'm going to go to the mode text here, go to the object, we'll type in our second text. We'll type in the movie effects film. So this is going to be our second text. I'm going to keep all the settings the same, and I'm going to go back and refracture it. So I'm going to go to plugin, explode, or use Thorosity if you want. We'll change it to 175, hit add. We'll make sure that it's fractured, hit scatter. And then now we have our shattered pieces here. So now that we have those two set up, we're pretty much done with the Cinema 4D part. The only reason why we use Cinema 4D in the first place is to kind of break up our text and fracture it up. So again, we'll save it. We'll go to File, Save As. And this time we'll call this one Text02. Hit Save. And we're ready to go back into After Effects. So here in After Effects, I'm going to close up my compositions. And I'm going to create a new composition and call this one Main Comp. I'll make it 720p at 15 seconds long. Just close this one here. And now let's go ahead and get started in After Effects. So I'm going to create a new layer for Element 3D. Call this Element. And we'll apply Effect, Video Copilot Element. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to focus on creating the initial shattering and the initial transition. We're not going to worry about anything else except for the actual transition first. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the element here, and we'll go import. I'm going to navigate to my files that we just created in Cinema 4D, and I'm going to import both of these 3D models. And right off the bat, they're backwards, and that's because of the orientation. We can hop into the group here. We'll go to orientation. We'll hit flip in X, and then we'll do the same for Text02. I'll just move Text01 on top. So we have Text01, which is the movie text, and then Text02 is the FX film. Now we forgot to add a material to the FX film 3D model here, but that's okay because we can always just redo it in Element. So I'll just delete these extra materials. We'll apply this material onto there. So now we have Text01 and then Text02. And let's go ahead and take a look at texturing this thing up. So I'm gonna use a preset, and I'm actually gonna be using the Chrome preset. So I'll apply the Chrome preset to the materials and apply it to the Text02 as well. And then we'll hop into the materials section, and we will go ahead and let's see here. Let's go ahead and first of all increase the reflection intensity. And then we'll go ahead and increase the refraction, increase the Fresnel. We'll go down to advanced. Maybe we'll set the force opacity to around 95%, just so it's kind of semi-transparent. And we will go and do the same for the second chrome material here. So we're just kind of estimating here. Turn the Fresnel, turn the refraction a little bit to kind of distort it. And then we'll change the force opacity to around 95%. We'll hop into the environment, and in this case, I'm going to be using another built-in preset environment here. So I'm going to use maybe the Studio Blurred, hit OK. And of course, feel free to use whatever environment you wish. In this tutorial, I think this should give you the idea on how to do it. And I will hit OK. So now that we have our text in, let's go ahead and go to the render settings. Go to the environment and turn on the show in background. So now we have our environment. I'm just going to rotate it a little bit, somewhere around here. And then we can go and start taking a look at how to set this animation up. So to do the shattering, we're going to be using the animation engine. And for that, it's going to require us to set two different groups right now. So right now, our text1 is in group 1 and our text2 is also in group 1. We want to change text02 to be in just group 2. So text1 is in group 1 and text2 is in group 2. So now we have both of these into the scene, and we'll hop into the animation engine, enable the animation engine. So now we can control the transition. So right now we can transition from text1, which is in group 1, to text2, which is in group 2, as you see here. Now, as you can see, things are moving as a whole, and we're not seeing these little individual pieces. So if we go into group 1, and go to particle look and go into multi-object, we can enable the multi-object, and then that's looking pretty good. And then we can go to group 2 and do the same thing. Just enable the multi-object, and that's going to enable all the individual polygons. So now if we animate the animation, it's going to animate the individual pieces, not just the whole group itself. So now you can kind of see what we're going for here. Now we have to mess it up and make it look more dynamic and crazy. So I'm gonna go to around 50%. That's the halfway point. I really want to really screw all this stuff up. So let's go ahead and start with group 1. So we'll start with group 1. Under multi-object, I'm gonna play around with the rotation as well as the scatter and displacement. So I'm gonna start maybe around 4 seconds long. We want our camera to rotate around the FX text, and then we're gonna break it up. So let's see here. I run 4 seconds long. We'll hit a keyframe for rotation random. Also, I guess scatter in let's do in Y as well as X, and then maybe displace as well. So if we hit U on the keyboard, show all keyframes, we'll move around 7.5 seconds or whatever around here. We'll change it up to displace it. We will increase the random rotation. We will increase the X scatter. And we'll also decrease the Y scatter quite a bit. And this is just our group 1 text. So let's go ahead and go down to the animation engine. This is just our group 1 text. And then it's going to break up just like that. And then while it's breaking up, our group 2 is going to do the exact opposite. So as this is breaking up, group 2 is actually breaking up and coming to formation. So this is breaking up, but group 2 is doing the exact opposite. It's actually coming together. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to right here. This is when the text starts to break up. But for group 2, it's already broken up. So we'll do that now. We'll also enable the displace, let's see here, the rotation random, the scatter in X and Y. And we do the exact opposite. So we'll hit U on the keyboard again to update it. And we'll mess it up at first. We're going to really displace it and really increase the random rotation as well as the X scatter and the Y scatter. Just like that. We'll move forward, and this is where the second text is gonna form. So we'll just set all these to 0. So essentially these two texts are doing the exact same thing, just at opposite times. So as one is breaking, one is forming. As one is forming, one is breaking. So now, if we just take a look at the animation engine here, you can kind of see what it's doing. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. Now we just have to animate it. So from here, we'll set the animation to 0. And then we'll move forward to here. And then we'll set the animation to 100. So essentially, this is what we get. And then maybe we can set the smoothness down to around 45 and randomness to 100. So we want a lot of randomness. This is kind of what we want. And of course, you can kind of fine tune it just a little bit. Maybe we can increase the random rotation a little bit. Okay. So now that we had that basically set up, let's go ahead and take a look at our basic camera move. So I'm going to create the same rig as before. I'm going to create a new camera. Call this camera. We'll also create two null objects. This one's going to be the control or the controller. We'll make it a 3D layer and we'll duplicate it. And this one's going to be called Dolly. We'll parent the camera to the controller and we'll parent the controller to the Dolly so that each one of these nulls are going to do two separate things, so there's no confusion, there's no weird interpolation stuff. So the Dolly is simply just going to be a rotation. It's just going to be slowly orbiting around this thing so that we have some kind of movement. We don't want things to stop moving. So, maybe we'll start right here. We'll move to the end around maybe 10 seconds long or so, maybe 12 seconds long. And we will just rotate it. So no matter what we're doing, the camera is always animating something. And this is what we want here. And then, so this is just going to be chilling for a while. And then right before element starts animating, around right here or so, we're gonna do the initial swing. So I'm gonna hit R on the keyboard, go to hit keyframe for the Y rotation, and I'm gonna do almost a 360-degree turn. So we'll move forward here, and then we'll move to the end, and then we'll just do maybe like a complete turn, 360, or almost 360, maybe around here. So essentially, we're just chilling around. The dolly is just chilling around, and then the controller is gonna swing the camera and stop, and then we have our chilling with the dolly again. And I'm just gonna do a quick RAM preview. I may want to easy ease these keyframes, so highlight them, hit F9 on the keyboard so that they're kind of smoother. Maybe we don't want that for the initial dolly here, so convert that back to a normal keyframe. So now we just have this. Now I also want the initial swing to have kind of the momentum to it, so I'm going to select the Y rotation, the controller, go to the graph editor, and just kind of enhance this swing a little bit. I want it to make it very dramatic, so it's going to slowly start, and it's going to really swing. And that's just to give it more energy. It's going to be really, really dramatic, very exponentially fast. Just like that. And I'll do the same for the animation here. Maybe just, I want to easy ease all these keyframes actually. And then go into the animation and do the same thing. Just to kind of make it a little bit smoother. And then we'll do a quick RAM preview. And that is looking pretty good. This may be a little bit too long. Maybe we can, speed up the animation just a little bit. We will highlight all these keyframes, and I kind of want it to happen a little bit sooner, maybe around the 2-second mark. Maybe we can increase it, and then just trim the composition down to around 10 seconds long. So now things happen just a little bit faster, and that is looking good. So in this lesson, we pretty much took a look at how to build the whole text and shatter it up in Cinema 4D. We took a look at how to bring it into After Effects and set up the whole animation, set up the camera rig, and set up Element 3D. So in the next lesson, we're going to be taking a look at some of the enhancements that we can do to it, including the motion blur, ambient occlusion, the lens flares, some quick tweaks to it to make it look a little bit better and finish it up. So that's what we're going to do in the next lesson. But until next time, my name is Vincent Nguyen, and I'll see you guys next time.